Welcome to Daggers and Shadow Daddies.
We're your hosts, Ryan and Adriana.
Buckle up, Buttercup. Imagine this. I'm going to take you on a little journey. So, there I am, down at the club, right? Working it. So I'm flashing some pulls. Some people are throwing some singles. I gathered those bad boys up. Somebody's like, hey, take a crisp hundo. And I'm like, I didn't give you enough of a show for that. And they're like, I already saw your butthole. Take this crisp hundo. And so I do, because they're not wrong. I deserve it. I've taken that crisp hundo. Now I owe that woman's husband $100. Now I go give him the $100. I still did sex work for money that I would have either way had to have paid out.
I am moving forward because
Wait, where are you at? Do you agree?
No, I don't agree.
What?
Because Farrah did it out of the kindness of her heart because she knew what it was like to be starving.
You don't think the woman who gave me $100 for the old beehole?
Somebody did this? You said that as if this has happened.
No. All I'm saying is I don't owe anybody $100 anymore.
I paid my debts.
Using my body because I am a fishy sex worker. No, all I'm saying is the fine titty fish ladies, right? The busty barracudas.
Yes.
Whatever we want to call them. They show up and they save her, right?
Yes.
Which is awesome. And they're like, our debt is paid.
Who did the punch? Oh, they did the punching. That cracked me up. They're just like, "Pooh," and then they're just like, our debt is paid.
Yeah, and then if you think about it, technically their debt was already paid because her sister showed the booty hole. That was the whole... There wasn't a debt.
No.
If anything, Farrah owed her some more jewels because now she got more busty barracuda women. Just come flashing fish titties.
I was picturing the water rates from Witcher. Not the show, but Witcher 3, the game. Those ones.
Well, that's way grosser than what I had.
Yeah, that's what I pictured the whole time.
Do you know what a barracuda looks like? That fish?
Yes, and there are no tits on it.
Well, I was talking about the teeth. That's the thing they describe a lot this time. I think you should get your mind straight.
I'm the problem.
Yeah, and you should get it under control. Yeah, okay. Anyway,
Do you think that it was the book that nullified their powers or all the lead?
No, I think the book. I don't think the lead is emitting anything. I think the book was contained in the lead housing to also contain the book's power. Otherwise, it would be too easy to find, right? Because Farrah talks about how everybody's leaking power. I believe how it's described. Leaking bits of power. And I'm like, this poor dude's got fissures. Like,
I guess I meant it as, was the book actively nullifying their powers? Or was the lead blocking their powers from leaking outside of that? Like, Rhys couldn't sense anything. Amren couldn't do as much.
Yeah, so I think whatever it is that's, I want to say the word affinity, right, would be something like her powers in the summer court for water. She has a greater affinity for those powers while in the summer court. So there are environmental factors that change your power, right? While you're in the lead-cased room, you're not getting any of that affinity. Whatever is powering your powers, whatever you're drawing from, so to speak, you're cut off from. And the ability to expel that power is greatly diminished because of the density of a lead. So the book itself, I think, is nullifying their power as like a safety precaution. And I think part of the reason why the book is encased in lead is to prevent it from just nullifying shit all the way around it or being too easy to find.
Okay. And I think also knowing that the book is more alive in whatever way that it is. Listening a second time, I would have thought that Amren would have become more powerful next to it, given its origin.
Amren, it's older than Amren is. And Amren's magic was described as like a Doctor Strange type thing, right? Where it was ancient symbolism and stuff is what Farrah saw when Amren was using her magic.
Yes.
And so Farrah's like, I don't know that language, which to be fair, Farrah currently knows one language and she can only read it quite tenuously. So I think that it's not a surprise that she's like, whatever the symbols she had, I don't know. And it was just Spanish or something. But the book, when Amren opens it and goes to try to read it, or maybe it's the cover, I can't remember. Amren sees, when she's given the book, right?
She sees the language.
Yeah, she sees the language of the book and she's like, oh man, this is much older than, this is before my time, but I think I can translate it eventually.
Yeah, and she needs both of them.
And I don't know, I can understand why you would need as much information as possible because of how ciphers work, right? Because essentially that's what she's doing. She's going to crack it like a code, not like she's remembering a language.
Yes.
So, and that also was a great move on the writer's part, because if she would have said, I just got to brush up on this ancient book language, it would have been such a major issue for me. Where I'm like, Amren's basically the oldest thing we know of. She was here before Rhys.
Yes.
And
to just look at the language and remember how to read it.
Yeah, and maybe she never knew how to read it. Maybe there was something else that was also quite old. Perhaps she'd seen the cauldron at some point.
Well, when the book talked about, because I'm going to...
The book talk.
I'm just going to back up just 2 seconds to get us back to it in case we missed anything. Rhys shows up, sees him on the beach, winnows him away. Oh, this is where I have Morrigan acknowledges that she doesn't know what happened. And she asks like 2 times. In some ways, I'm like, wait, they will get to it. They have other things that they're doing right now. But I did like that she was asking. And
it was very natural.
Yeah, because she's just like, what the hell's going on? And it really fits her personality to want to know what's going on before anything else happens.
And yeah, she's keeping secrets. Go ahead.
We will hear them eventually. And that's where we get to the book, and now it's talking. It says something to Feyre about, are you going to read me? I almost wonder if reading it is part of the taking its power, using its power is maybe the word I want. So I don't know if Amra read it or if she just recognized it, kind of like you can glance and recognize English if you saw a flash of it, or you would recognize other languages even if you don't know them.
Yeah. If you look at kanji, I don't know what any of it means.
But you could recognize
I recognize that that's kanji.
Yeah, and that's how I pictured that moment with her, and the fact that the book asks Feyre, are you going to read me? And I don't think she said no. Yeah, she did say no. Right?
Did she say, not right now, and then just like skittered away?
I think she just said no.
Oh.
She was just like, no.
And then the book just says, liar again. That book I loved so much. It's like, who are you? What are you? And then she's like, I'm your master. And all she did was change her voice. The book is like, I can see you, dipshit.
The book even has a bit of a personality. It doesn't have the personality of something ancient. It seemed to have a personality of...
something curious.
Very curious. Not young, but definitely not socialized.
I would say the book does have the personality of something ancient, but not old, if that makes any sense.
Do you remember that show that we watched with Brendan Fraser? And he's the robot. Doom Patrol.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I'm hung up on his name. Brendan Fraser?
I think it's Fraser. I was wrong.
Well, the only reason I'm saying that is Fraser always makes me think.
Yeah. No, I was wrong.
Who's it calling?
In Doom Patrol, there was the candle thing.
Yeah, the candle maker.
And it was old, ancient, but yet it was still playful with her. And that's kind of how I was putting this ancient old thing of like in Doom Patrol, that character was very sheltered, very I don't know what.
It was an imaginary friend, to be fair.
Yes.
Given life. I see what you're saying with that, parallel.
Yeah, I don't know how to describe it. It was like the character of this book was related to the Candleman from Doom Patrol.
Yeah. Well, and I think what I said earlier didn't make any sense. Ancient, but not old. Wise, but not old is probably a better way of me saying this. Because the questions it's asking, it's very basic and it's questioning.
Oh, I like that you brought that up. It calls her Cursebreaker.
Yes.
How does it know this?
Again,
but yeah, it didn't know who she was, but now it knows who she is.
Do you think that it doesn't know who she is, or do you think it's asking so that she has to know who she is? Does that make sense? Who are you? And if she was like, I'm Feyre, it would still be like, not quite. Give me, who are you really? that's your name. But who
I bet you're right, because this is a thing that kind of keeps being thrown at us a little bit, because
we're being beat over the head with it.
The Weaver does this also.
Yeah, it's the idea that Feyre has to reach some point of acceptance of who she has become, as opposed to just what her name is and what she's currently doing, or what is your occupation. And I think that the whole existentialism of it makes total sense, not just in this book. I enjoy this in life. Like, I think that's the question of who you are is something we constantly address as a human society. So I think that it makes total sense. The book's like, who are you? And she's like, I'm your master. It's like, no.
And it was quiet at one point. And I think right before it went quiet, it says this to her, and I wrote it down. Like calls to like, unmade and made, made and unmade, like calls to like. What was your thought on that phrase?
It's the book was made as probably a single book. It was unmade in the sense of it was then split in two. The cauldron was made, and then the cauldron is now in 4 pieces technically.
What about like calls to like?
I think that's what makes them similar. Feyre. So the book, the cauldron, and Feyre are linked in that sense, right? Feyre was one thing, then she became something else, and she's still transitioning and kind of transforming into the thing that is after a part of her is removed. Her humanity is sort of slowly slipping. She goes, oh, I have a human heart, right? Like, that's brought up a few times, but less and less so are we actually seeing that factor in. She's starting to deceive people and trick them with her mind, and her ability in spycraft has all of a sudden become, she's pretty proficient at spycraft for the most part.
Yeah.
Like, and I see those things as being her changing.
I was thinking about how she has to read the book because she is like the book, right?
She has to, because the only person who can read the book or the only people who can read the book and have it affect the cauldron, I think is technically the way the bone carver had kind of put this to us, was one who was made, or one who has been not rebirthed, but it's something reforged.
Yes,
was the term. And
so she has to, and she just so confidently said, no, I'm not.
Yeah, and that's where I thought it should have been, not right now.
Yeah.
But again, that's narratively not a powerful move. It's just an honest conversation, which doesn't help you sell a book. You know, I'm just saying.
I was thinking about how it doesn't really help with the book opening up to her.
No, well, that's true too. I think the cool thing they did with the book's personality is they did give it pause in moments where it's like the book had some introspection or process. It wasn't just a pre-recorded, like, what's your deal? Nope, fuck off. It was even between when she's like, I'm your master. The book was quiet for a moment and then just went, liar, and then slammed everything.
Oh, I thought that was when they were on the table and it did open up for her.
Well, it does then, but what I'm saying is initially when she's trying to pick up the book, right? She's like, oh, fucking lead book, this is heavy. And then the book's like, who are you? And that's why all the doors shut.
Do you think it would have listened if she was just herself?
Again, I don't think it was about a name. I think the book at this point is basically saying you're not worthy because you don't actually know who you are yet.
Kind of like Thor's hammer.
I think Mjolnir, first of all, she has a name, Adri. I think that's more of the idea of, are you kind or altruistic, blah, 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 with Mjolnir. I don't think it takes you understanding yourself. I think it takes you being a good person by whatever metric the hammer deems. I think this is less about being worthy by virtue and more of being worthy by self-understanding or actualization.
Oh, that'd be interesting. Do you think Rhys would have done this mission regardless of the benefit of stopping the cauldron, but to have done it just for Amren, to have this book?
No, otherwise I think it would have been done while they were all under the mountain. I don't think Feyre in particular is the only reason they found this book. And I actually have a note on this and wanted to bring it up. How is it so difficult to find this book? If the book isn't in your treasure trove, right? Which, honestly, I think Rhysand, if the rest of that kingdom was empty and basically destroyed, Rhysand could have on one of his outings went there, just winnowed in, and gone through all their shit and been like, well, it's not here.
You can't winnow down into the treasures, though, and check around.
Well, you can't because it's sealed. But I'm saying, like, he could have destroyed that whole building. There would have been no consequence when nobody else is there. And if it's such a powerful thing that Rhysand couldn't get through it, then why the fuck didn't everybody just hide behind whatever these treasure trove things are? And the bad lady from the last book would have never got him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I guess I don't know if I'm...
I don't think it answers my question.
Do I think Rhysand would have done it? No, because he didn't. And I think he had the ability to do so before Feyre.
Okay, I didn't really think that he did. I see what you're saying that a little bit, but I thought that they wouldn't have found it without Feyre.
He didn't know he needed the book until Feyre is part of my thing with this too, I suppose.
I think he's known about the book.
How?
What do you mean?
It's an ancient guarded secret. And when they go to talk, they don't know shit until the bone carver. They're going to talk to the bone carver about how do we do this with a cauldron. And he's like, there's a book. There are 2 pieces of this book. It's even older than the cauldron or older than this or that, blah, blah, blah. One was given to the summer court. One was given to the queens of the earth side of things or the human side. The bone carver was the introduction of there even being this 2 parts of a book.
Really? I thought that Rhys kind of knew it already.
But he just says that he did. We don't hear about it until the bone carver as an audience. Does he seem shocked by it? No, but how else would he have got this information? Nobody else seems to be aware of it. And I don't think Rhys is aware of anything that Amren isn't already aware of for the most part.
Well, she wasn't aware of his thoughts about the language.
Let me rephrase that. I don't think Rhys is aware of the existence of things that Amren isn't. Amren has been an observer of this world since before.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yes. So, I fully follow with that Rhys would not be aware of things existing and Amren doesn't.
Yeah, big important shit. I think Amren, because she's been present for it all. And then the bone carver is like, hey, this is what you got to do. That's the only thing the bone carver informed them of. If Rhysand had that plan, why would he have done all of that work to go to the bone carver? Yeah, no, I'm following now. Now he acts like this has been a plan for 300 years or some bullshit. He's like, oh, well, don't worry. I know it seems selfish that I put you guys through all of this, but actually, Amren, I thought that you would like to read this book. It's like, well, you came up with that 2 weeks ago after we talked about the bone carver. This is the thing you've just been thinking about the whole time. What the hell?
He's trying to get some credit.
Yeah, he comes off like that guy that every action he takes, he's like, no, you're wrong for being upset.
Oh, I took it as every action he takes was a part of the master plan, even if he kind of stumbled into it.
That's what I mean. There's never an acknowledgement to the fact that this happened to be a good thing. It's more of a, no, you're misinformed. This is actually a selfless thing I'm doing. You're welcome.
So she opens up the book.
Yeah.
They have that whole moment that we've been talking about.
Mm.
Azriel brings up the question that I have been asking. And I thought I was asking because the answers we were given weren't good enough. But I think it's because it hasn't been given to us, which is, why is Jurian needed? I thought that has been explained to us, and I just didn't like the answer. And he's just like, but why Jurian?
He would be remade by the cauldron. To be fair, he could then command the book, is my guess. If he's reforged.
But don't they need the book to bring him back? No, the books are for nullifying the cauldron.
Correct.
Oh.
That's my understanding. And I think the books have a power that doesn't necessarily supersede the cauldron. I think it's kind of on an equal footing.
I have a typo in my notes. Didn't Jurian kill his liver?
I think, he drank way too much. I like that. She opens the booty. Oh, that does say book. Never mind.
Didn't Jurian kill his lover? Why would he want to revive her after he is revived? Because Azriel's asking, what's the name of that? Hybern. What does Hybern have on Jurian that they think that when he's revived, that he's going to listen to them? Are they going to revive her? And I thought Jurian was the one that killed her.
Yeah, he was. That's why Amarantha was so upset, because it was Amarantha's sister.
So they revive his lover, and I thought maybe I'm misunderstanding all this. I should probably re-listen to it. Mm-hmm. I was taking it as Jurian comes back, his lover is obviously dead. that Hybern is going to bring her back as a way to manipulate Jurian to do what they want. But if he killed her, why would he want her?
No, his real love isn't dead. He never really loved her.
Who's his real love?
Maya.
Whoa, what are you on? I'm so confused. Who's Maya?
Well, okay, I'm probably got this name wrong, but it starts with an M. Maya and Drakor, or Dragon, whatever, they've been addressed twice as, have you spoke to them? Last I knew, they were still doing fine.
The person Miriam, that we argued about?
Miriam.
Of her having a long life or Correct. Immortality?
Yes, she has immortality.
That's not Jurian's lover.
Jurian loved her, and then she went with Dracon or whatever afterward. There's like a weird love triangle.
Oh my God, I don't listen well enough. I put so much time into taking notes and I miss these things.
No, first of all, I could be totally wrong on this, so I'm not willing to stand for her the same way I was.
I'm gonna
Google it real quick.
I know, but it could be risky, but I kind of want to know the answer.
Just Google Miriam and...
Does Jurian love Miriam? I think that's how they spell it.
What'd you get? Oh no, must be a spoiler. You hid that phone like a 12-year-old boy whose mom just walked in.
You're right. That is who he was in love with.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah.
And Dracon.
I was so close. For a name I've heard 3 times.
That's 3 years later, the Prince Dracon, and that's all the farther I'm going to keep reading. Okay. And Miriam and Dracon are together right now, living their life, and Rhys hasn't talked to them in forever, right?
Right. I don't think it was on good terms.
So you're following this love triangle, but not whatever's going on with Azriel, Moore, and Cassian?
I'm not gonna lie, this one's been pretty basic. Not to insult you, but the only times it's been brought up was Jurian, Miriam, and Dracon. That's the only time.
What's the name of the Amarantha's sister?
I don't know. I barely remember Amarantha's name. And she was every 7th word in the other one. Starts with a C.
Wow, you have such a... Wow, it's Clythia.
Oh.
You mess up names all the time, but yet you remember this?
I remember the first letters of most of the names, to be fair. I'm not good at names, but I can remember a first letter because that's like committing a number to memory. A name is complicated.
I was looking up, did Jurian kill Clythia to make sure that I'm following correctly?
Oh, did it say maybe or something?
No,
okay,
he did.
Okay. I was like, oh no, spoiler.
No, yeah, he did. Okay, so I am following. Jurian
loved her.
Killed Clythia. Yes, he pretended to love her to get close to Amarantha?
Well, no.
You're in love with my brother?
Tobias?
Oh.
Wait, no, I fucked it up. Michael. Illusions, Michael. No, okay, so he pretended to love her so that she would love him. They fall in love, and that's how he then destroys her.
Wait, now I'm confused again on something else. So Azrael says, does he know? Oh, does he know that? Oh, yeah, I'm just realizing too many things all at once.
All right.
Okay.
Let's get it.
So Miriam has been given immortality.
Yep.
Does Jurian know this? That explains that. I was picturing it was all about Clythia, that Jurian knows that she is dead and would assume that she's been dead, just like Miriam by the sounds of it. And that's where I was getting them confused.
No.
She's actually alive and he probably doesn't know.
He does know. I believe he would know. And I say this because, remember, he is conscious inside of that bone in the ring. Did he know when he was with Amarantha? No.
We don't know how, or the whole story about Miriam and how she got immortality.
We do not.
She still looks like a human. She did not get a new body, but she got immortality.
Yes.
We don't know if it was before or after Jurian was turned to bone in an eyeball.
Well, okay, here's the really crazy thing to me, and I can see that you still seem unsure of what's going on.
No, I'm following now, and I am still also in shock that you remembered all of these names.
I remember.
Even to a degree that it would help with Googling them.
I remembered none of those names correctly.
You
I said
got
Maya.
Dragon as Draken.
Yeah.
You got C, Cleopatra, and it's Clythia.
Yeah.
And
Maya for Miriam.
That's pretty good.
Listen, I like that I've set that bar. Like, you could trip over it, but if you don't, I'm proud.
I forgot about their existence.
Oh, okay, that's true. But you'll never forget their names now.
Nope.
I want to really throw you off with this one a little bit, though.
Okay.
Jurian's soul is bonded to the eyeball and the bone, correct?
Yes.
It's tethered.
For sure the eyeball.
I think both, I'm assuming. But yeah.
The only reason I think the eyeball is because the eyeball moves and the bone doesn't.
It wasn't given an opportunity. It was a necklace. No, that's fair. All right, so let's say it's whatever. Soul is tethered to a remaining part of him, right? He's also been granted a very long life, if that's the case, right?
Yes. In an odd way. It's just his soul, because when they were meeting with the bone carver, they talked about, well, can Durian be revived? Can they be revived? And the bone carver said, if their soul has been preserved. So in this world that they are in, your soul goes away, floats away. Amarantha caught it in whatever magical way she does that, and that is what's needed. So I don't see it as he's been gifted a long life. I see it as his soul was prevented from moving on.
Okay, so I'm willing to give you that, right? But I would say the fact that his eyeball hasn't degraded to nothing in this period of time, like I think that there's an argument to be made for the fact that he is also effectively immortal.
Yeah,
right?
I would say so.
And just the preservation of, because if my entire soul could reside, let's say, in my eyeball, hypothetically, my eyeball continues to age and degrade.
I think everyone's souls are immortal based off of this information. It's just somewhere else.
But I'm talking about his eye. It's not an inanimate object, but it's tied to something that is physical that would age. But he is a human soul in an eyeball that is still functioning. Like, he ain't cataracts or anything. We didn't hear about any of that. No glaucoma to speak of.
She just replaces the eyeball every once in a while.
Yeah, we don't know whose eyeball it is. That's true. It could just be a different eyeball. But I'm assuming it's Jurian's eye because that's the way it's referred to.
I would assume so too. If she has the magic to capture a soul, I think she has the magic to
preserve an eyeball. Then she's granted him immortality.
Yeah. No, I'm following. I was just picturing the souls in this world. They are in the human or fae body. They're killed or die. And the soul moves into an afterlife where it continues to live there, just as the soul.
Why would there be an afterlife for a group of immortal people?
They haven't even mentioned an afterlife. I don't know.
The cauldron is their religion, remember?
But it's not an afterlife.
It's cauldron boil me. Perhaps if they die, their magic goes back to the cauldron. Maybe they're recycled. It's like, what do you call it? When you're revived as a frog or something. Mm-hmm. Not to disrespect anybody's thing. I know lots of people have that.
I think that when they die, well, the magic does move to your family.
We have not heard that.
Yes,
it's passed down, but it is not once you murder them, you get their magic, or once they die, it's passed down to you.
No, not to you. When Amarantha killed Tarquin's, the High Lord of the Summer Court, and all of that High Lord's family, Tarquin was not an immediate descendant. He was kind of like a off descendant.
I feel like he was one of the few willing to take up the job under the mountain.
I don't think it was his choice. I think the magic just went to him.
Powerful one. Moore talks about how she was born more powerful than any of the males in her family.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's the thing. I don't think that, okay, let me change this. If a male in her family, her father dies, does his power go to Moore, or does it go to the most powerful boy, the eldest? I don't think there was ever any talk of how magic distribution works, post-death.
Oh, I guess I was just trying to say that I don't think Tarquin went out of his way to try to win over the magic, or he did anything. It just showed up.
I think he already had it. I think he was born with a power he has, and then he develops it and it grows. Like how regular power works for regular people.
Oh, no, I think there's even like a direct statement that it said after the Summer Court High Lord was killed and all of his family, that the magic transferred. I think that was even said. It transferred to him.
I'm going to have to find that part because, yeah, I missed that. And I know you've been on this kick. So if you're right, I am so apologetic.
I feel a little more confident in this one.
The way you just said that.
Could be wrong.
Could you have said that in a less confident way? Adri, tell me. Just say.
The magic transferred to Tarquin. And he did nothing. He was just kind of like a little toddler 30-year-old.
Yes, I thought the title transferred to him, and I thought the title grants you more affinity.
I think if you just become this super beast of a man with power, and all of a sudden they're just like, well, clearly you're now the High Lord of the Summer Court.
Yeah, at the time he's 30, though. So he's 10 years old, basically. He's a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
I imagine he's just the most powerful 10-year-old.
Yes. And I think that as far as the downline of the High Lord of the Summer Court, it was killed. Tarquin was probably the strongest, and that's why it picked him. But it was also someone related to
familial.
To the previous High Lord.
See, and now I'm wondering, like, if you kill the top person and marry Kay, does their power in their downline get distributed?
That would be so awesome.
Wouldn't it be? Imagine Mary Kay would be so much more interesting to hear about. Every time I would see a pink Cadillac, I'd be like, that's a badass motherfucker. They just been fighting them off. That would be so cool. If you meet somebody from Mary Kay, introduce this as a concept. You personally. Like, you're the one I'm speaking to right now.
Do you assume their downline when you take them out?
Yeah. Or do you have to just assume their identity for that?
I'm moving you forward. Continuing on into the last chapter, 38.
Of our reading, not of the book.
Yeah. This is where Tarquin mailed them the blood rubies. And Rhys is brooding out on the beautiful deck.
The veranda.
Yes.
He's like, please, let me
Brood.
peace. Yeah, and also I love that it's brooding as opposed to sulking.
I don't know if they used the word brood. It's fun to pitch.
No, they did.
Did they? Okay.
Brooding, yeah. I'm like, okay. Because Mora's like, it can take 3 days for him to stop brooding. And I'm like, first of all, I don't like that. We could just be like, he's poopy pants right now. Somebody get this man a diaper. Because he's being a crybaby.
Stop. He's talking with Feyre, and he mentions that he debated on just asking Tarquin outright for it.
He debated on just asking Tarquin for it.
Oh my God.
See, and we said the same thing.
That's probably because this is a horny chapter, and you already got your head in the game for this.
This one's horny?
This is the horny chapter.
What? Oh man, the last thing I remember happening is the blood diamonds.
Oh, no, that we were at the mall re-listening to the horny scene of fantasy.
Specifically, it was so uncomfortable doing this in the middle of the mall, looking for our daughter and her friends, making sure that these children didn't get abducted, that I just blocked out what was happening.
Backing you up, but just a second.
Yes, blood diamonds.
Rhysand is talking with Feyre about how he debated on just asking outright for the book and back and forth. But he needed to make sure the why of the mission was still a secret. Why is that so important?
I think because people who are good at Damate,
I think.
Yeah, it sounds Italian. But the thing where they can just enter people's brains, right? I think as a way to prevent people who are really good at that from fucking up their plans, keeping their plans a secret makes sense. And clearly, Tarquin would not stand a chance against somebody who was pretty good at that because Feyre managed to slip her way in there. And she's not shown to be an incredible artist at this. So I think he made the right call. Although I would argue, and I think this is exactly what he's struggling with, is he probably could have said, like, I really need you to trust me. I don't want to steal this or take it from you or just beat the shit out of you in order to get it. But I really need this. And I'm going to need your help. But I can't tell you about it right now. Which would be a real exercise in trust. But I feel like if somebody came to me and they're like, listen, man, I can't tell you why, but you have this tool that I really need to borrow. Like,
do you think Tarquin will forgive him?
Not immediately. I think it's going to be, I have a theory about the assassins that are going to try to come get him, right? Because there's a price on their head now. So I think the assassins are going to try to come get him. I think Feyre at some point shapeshifts either into Tarquin and calls him off, or something like that happens, right? Where there's some subterfuge and he doesn't just continually murder the assassins. I think he sort of incapacitates them in a relatively nice way and just sends them home. And is like, you left this here. I don't want to murder these people. Either bring the good guys to come get me, or let's get over this bullshit. But I think it's going to be immediately interrupted by a much bigger problem, which will be the King of Hybern.
Do you think the reward is the blood diamonds or the blood rubies? Like you just take one out and your reward is...
Jesus, that's a cool idea. I hadn't considered that at all. I thought your reward would be you killed a High Lord of the Night Court, one who is pretty universally disliked.
And
that's a hell of a reward.
Rhysand doesn't have any family really that we know. If we have more, would she become the High Lord?
No, I think what's her name does.
If
Amryn, because she's the most powerful.
It's his family.
I don't think it needs to be. I think anybody who's more powerful can just take that throne. I think they happen to be family because of the way the breeding and power thing works. I think that's just a happy coinky-dink.
Well, then why didn't Amarantha?
Yeah.
Why didn't she get the Summer Court's power when she killed him?
Again, I don't think she's a member of that court. I think you have to be somewhat recognized by the lands, because there's something magical about the lands. That's why they have such specific, even seasons. So that's my guess. And maybe I'm making all of this up to justify some shit that isn't real. And that's super likely.
Doesn't matter.
I'm pretty butthurt about the power system. And if it was clearly defined, we wouldn't even have to have these questions. But whatever.
Now both Spring and Summer Court have a feud with Rhysand. We're at that stage now, checking in with who does and doesn't like Rhysand. And Feyre, in order to fix his mood, taunts him with the suggestion of buying lingerie together.
And he's like, leave me alone. And she's like, come on, play with me. I do remember that. That disturbed me.
Because of us re-listening, I should say, at the mall, or just the idea of horny scenes going on in this book. You're just like, can we move forward?
It was more like the way she said play with me bothered me. It was very childlike.
I guess I took it as very seductive, light, and airy.
Never want you to speak like that to me.
I also never want you to speak to me like...
Yeah, if you're attempting to seduce me and you're like, come on, play with me like a fucking child, and it works, I would like you to take me out right then.
I took it as play banter.
You saw it more as whimsical than childlike.
Yeah, I took it as like, let's have some fun.
And I instead think that it could have been like, play with me. Or not quite like that, but something like that would have been more. You know what I'm trying to...
Yes, I do.
I don't know how to talk.
And this was also where he says, someone thinks mighty high of herself.
And she's like, I'm seducing.
And he was seducing me.
Ricky Martin. Anyway.
What's the Ricky Martin? What?
Don't worry about it. I'm old. Mad TV was a thing back then.
Oh, and she calls Rhys a predator just like she did Tamlin. I was giving Tamlin a hard time of being called a predator. It turns out that's just her look, her way of describing men wanting
She's just following Chris Hansen everywhere he goes, and she's just complimenting those men every time.
A predator's
They're like, sir, are you aware you were here to have sex with this Fae person who's only been a Fae for 1 year? And she's like, that predator. Ow.
And it didn't take him long to feel better, though. Turns out it actually works.
Honestly, I think you already knew it works. Okay. When I'm down and you're like,
I would not have had the same reaction as her.
You wouldn't call me a predator.
No, forgiving him for his mistake. I do think he made a mistake. He fucked up.
I think he acknowledged.
That's such a newbie. Like, he should have known.
His first mistake was bringing Feyre on these missions.
Well, I think that they needed her to find the book.
Okay.
I do feel
I think we just look for the one thing that looks shitty that's heavily guarded, and we can assume that's an area we would like to see. But that's just me.
She ended up forgiving him, though, or at least saying, let's think about it later. And I think that's what he needed. I think he needed all of this to feel better. He needed to not have judgment and
Promise
to be
sexy stuff.
Yep, it
which
made
I
me feel
get.
better.
I think that was good.
But I would not have forgiven him. I would have been, honestly, I would have been an asshole.
I know.
I probably would have been like Amryn. We don't know her reaction, but I can't imagine it's going to be a good one.
I think I'm more with Feyre on this one. Not to just antagonize
To
you.
buy lingerie with Rhys?
Yeah, I think I'd let him see my butthole for 100 doll hairs. No, I think I'm more on her side with this because you can acknowledge that he's acknowledging he made a mistake. It's not the first fuck up you guys have ever had. And if your expectation is that he never fucks up, you have shitty expectations. People do make mistakes. And I think it's the most humanizing thing that they've done yet with Rhys, where not only did he acknowledge he made a mistake, he's really tore up about it.
Yeah.
And he's sad by the loss of a potential friend, which he hasn't had in earnest outside of his small group in forever. Even Feyre isn't really somebody who wanted his friendship.
And the reason he was jealous of Tarquin is her saying, you are someone who I think would be easy to love. And I wonder if he feels like this is another reason why I'm not easy to love, is things like this.
Yeah, and I think that's, I don't know, it made me feel more for Rhys. I appreciated him brooding, him being poopy pants.
These last several chapters, him not seducing Cressida, his acknowledgement and hearing his vulnerabilities and jealousies.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. Now, to be honest, I don't think the Crusada thing really matters.
No, but all of it
would have made any
together.
difference. And the fact that he didn't do it, he also doesn't get a medal. Like, I think I can take or leave that. His jealousy and stuff, while it's annoying, it is humanizing. I think the interesting thing is we're seeing Feyre become less human and Rhysand becoming more human. And they're going to, at some point, kind of meet in the middle. And that's where they're going to blossom.
Oh, that was a really nice take on it.
Yeah.
And the next part is her leaving the room. She starts thinking about what just happened and then thinking about Tamlin. And while we were re-listening, I told you, I'm like, pay attention to this part because I'm trying to catch when Rhys infiltrates her mind and starts playing games with her by doing this. When I listen to it, she's talking about Tamlin and thinking about how much she did love him, does love him. I don't remember if it was present tense or not. And there's a second of pause from the narrator and then starts talking about, I think I would have gone to the shop. And the cadence kind of changed. It was like shorter sentences of it was like a play-by-play of what was going on. And it didn't seem like it was Feyre anymore at that point.
You did a great job with it because I think that transition happened as soon as she quit thinking. I think her stepping away from the thoughts about Tamlin is when Rhysand entered. Rhysand's like, okay, that was enough Tamlin.
Yeah, I took it as Rhysand's just like, we're not going to think about Tamlin right now.
But I don't think it was all Rhysand. I think Rhysand kind of lightly nudged her.
Yeah.
It's kind of like light foreplay, so to speak, if that makes sense, where you're just kind of introducing the idea of feelings.
I took maybe the first section after she's talking about Tamlin. Then she makes a statement of, I think I might have. That seemed like Feyre to me and the thoughts that we hear. But then it was and then this would have happened, and this would have happened, and this would have happened.
And then I'd have blown him right there in front of everybody. And
that's when I thought it was Rhys. And when I first heard this, I loved it so much. 2, that is 100% something you would do just to mess with me if you could do that. The same exact scenario. We've talked several times from the last books to these books of mind vibing and how cool that would be. And I would love to mind vibe. And this was a scenario that I knew immediately, this is a downside. I could see you fucking with me several times by doing that.
Use that power. Yeah. There wouldn't be a lot of trust left in our relationship after the first few weeks because you wouldn't know what was you. I wouldn't know what was you.
You're just horny the whole time.
And you haven't seen a dirty dish in months. I'm like, I think it's okay.
this is much better spice than with Tamlin in the last book.
So again, I really wasn't listening much to this scene. You did specifically say listen carefully, and I specifically said,
no.
Have you seen our daughter in a minute? Is that them? And you're like, that's a whole ass family, none of which are our daughter, because they were 50 yards away and I am blind.
You were trying to be distracted.
I was not. I was concerned for our child. I happened to be distracted.
She was fine. The first time we listened to it, we were in bed getting ready to fall asleep and whatnot.
We were going night-night.
Night. And I just liked it. I can already tell that Rhysand is a much better lover than Tamlin, just from this. Because Tamlin, after he explodes on her,
Okay, did you make it that way?
No.
Okay. All right, I'm just checking. Because I didn't remember that.
Do you remember when he got angry at her and that was the first time she shielded?
Just cocky.
No. And she shielded to protect herself from dying. And she mentions that he treated her like a queen afterwards. Like every time they begged, I'm like, damn it, you should have been doing this the entire time. And here is Rhys, hasn't done anything, just a slice of foreplay, treating her like the queen and goddess that she is.
Okay. And I'm agreeing with you on the fact that this is better sexually, right? 1000% of what Tamlin was doing. Tamlin's bar was so low. She brings up that he came before her, first of all, and then did it a couple times. Like, I think the author intentionally made the scenes with Tamlin not good. It's not that Rhysand's incredible. It's that Tamlin was really shit.
And I think whenever I see TikToks or videos of people talking about Tamlin and how they felt betrayed, like, oh my God, is this going to be a Tamlin?
Stuff from we.
I just thought I was never into Tamlin, and I was holding out on Book Talk, being honest, saying you got to get through that one to get to this.
In 38 chapters into the second book, we're finally starting to get there.
Getting a little, it's like a little jalapeno.
It's foreplay. It is slow, and introduces you into
non-ripe jalapeno.
I would say the way that Tamlin sex is described is more like one-night stand sex.
Yeah.
Right? It's there for the pleasure of the sex, not the pleasure of the human you're experiencing. And I think that that's the major difference. Like, I think intimate sex is what Rhysand is going to give us. Rhysand's going to give me intimate sex.
He already sounds like he is much better at foreplay. He's been foreplaying this entire time.
Rhysand seems much better at foreplay because he's doing some foreplay. It is good, and maybe I'm being defensive of this, I guess, because I'm like, this is adequate. It isn't incredible. Like, you know what I mean? It's good dirty talk.
Yeah, it's flirtatious.
It's flirtatious. It isn't straight seduction.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I'm really hoping you can get that in this book, because I want Amren to go murder a bunch of people and do it semi-effortlessly and just be Billy Badass. That will give me the fulfillment I'm looking for. And then you can get Rhysand being very tender. I won't get more graphic than that.
Nearing the end of chapter 38.
That wasn't the end?
No.
Holy Christ.
Her and Moore talk,
and
she shares with Moore what happened with her and Rhys. And I love that they had that was shared with us, that her and Moore are becoming friends. Because I think we talked about
girl talk thing.
Yeah, genuine girl talk of like, dude, your cousin just fucking did this. And she just laughs.
Yeah, but you shouldn't share these things exactly with your cousin. I want to point that out.
But they're becoming friends. And I remember early in starting this book, I hope they become good friends. Feyre didn't seem like the type to have friends. And she spent hours talking with her and learning about more and getting to know her history. And it was just really nice.
You know what's really going to be super sad? I haven't decided yet whether it's going to be Moore, who betrays her thinking it's for the betterment of everybody, or if it's going to be Tamlin. Or a combination of the two. I am guessing it's going to have something to do with the Queens, because the Queens has been a bit of a roadblock so far. They're going to get forward momentum out of the Queens, and then something happens from there. and maybe it's Nesta, somebody like that, but there's going to be somebody very close who then it destroys this emotional thing for Feyre, and that's what's going to bring her humanity back. That's my guess.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know what to think on any of it because I didn't want to be upset with Moore right now. I was very happy with Moore.
No, I think Moore's amazing. I'm not upset with Moore.
And even after this, there's still just a smidge more of chapter 38 when he has his nightmare and she goes and wakes him up.
Yeah, okay, so he normally keeps this contained to his room, he says. Right?
And it's also why he sleeps at the wind house.
So their bond is a one-way bond, is what I've learned from this, passively. Rhysand passively is aware of Feyre's dreams and all this stuff every night, right? So they're not sleeping at the same time ever, really. And if he's having these nightmares and she's been unaware of it, the bond isn't as mutual as it would come off.
Yeah.
Therefore, I think...
Or he's just really good at shielding, is how I took it. And she's improving.
That's totally possible, but I would have a hard time imagining he can actively shield this part and then still have these outbursts during that. Does that make sense? Plus, he would be aware of her nightmares simultaneously happening if they're sleeping at the same time.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
I was kind of caught up on she slaps him, he wakes up, he's on top of her, talons around her throat, and she's like, he's nude. I'm like, is he just dangling right now?
No, he's boned up. He's got Nightwood. He's got Nightwood. He's the Lord of the Night. Adrian, first of all, I guarantee what I would like you to do is at some point at 3 a.m., slap me and just check it out, see what happens.
No.
I'm not saying there will be. I'm just saying maybe I'm also a Lord of the Night. I'm pretty sure at 3 a.m., if I'm up top of you and you've slapped me, if I was dangling, it will be less dangly because I'm above.
He then gets off of her.
Wait, did she say his enormous cock slaps my thigh as he...
No, I even wrote this down. That's where I was getting into this part next. He sits down on the side of the bed, completely nude, like hands in his face in his hands. And her eyes betray her. And she does look. And
after
his knees...
She says, I shan't look down further.
Proceeds to look
and
further.
Then 5 seconds later, she's like, well, it looked me in the eye.
And she says, oh, then his knees, the tattoos on his knees caught my attention. And we get a full detail of the tattoos. We don't get anything about his size. Nothing. She's just like, I did look, but now we're going to describe his knees.
And I mean this in the kindest, most sincere way. You're a size queen anyway.
And she's a power queen.
Correct. She's focused on the tattoos and things that
show power.
Right. And you're like, tell me about that cock.
If I saw someone's penis, you would 100%.
You see so much dick.
No, I don't.
You used to just show me pictures of penis.
What are you talking about?
You'd be going through your phone. You'd be going through your phone. And you're like, I Googled redhead men. And Google was like, we know what you really want.
This is a Google problem. Google has improved in the last 10-some years.
All right, so the rest of us that used Google 10 years ago, maybe I'm in the minority. And not that much dick showed up for me. It was a pretty regular thing. No judgment here at all. But I'm saying you have not sought out, I wouldn't say, but you've seen an awful lot of penis.
More than you?
No, I lived in an all-boys dorm.
Okay, so I just thought
I've seen a lot of dick, but you have really, the fact that it's even a comparable number, you've seen some stuff.
No, I have not. And I just thought that where I was getting at with my analogy, now you got me all tangled up. If I saw a penis,
a long penis.
If I saw somebody's dick, right?
Yeah.
You would be like, well, how big was it?
No.
I'm just noting that she acknowledges that she looked and that she gave no details.
Maybe he's a grower.
She's like, we're going to pretend I didn't just see that because...
You think she'd call it Reese's Pieces? That would be cool. Yeah, now this has to become a TikTok and it's all penis. All penis all the time.
That's kind of the end of it.
That's the end?
Wait, I do have some questions.
Okay, well, me too.
Feyre transformed into Tarquin, do you think that she's not going to have a beast form necessarily, but that she can shape into people, or at least into the other High Lords?
I think she will have both because she does keep bringing up these claws that eject from her hands.
Yeah.
So I think she has that. I think she can shapeshift into other people in the same way we saw the Adder do with Tamlin.
Or shapeshift into the other High Lords' beast forms, into any of them.
I think it's kind of a free thing. I think you can shapeshift into whatever. I think when you get the ability to rearrange your molecules, you can kind of pick how they're put back together. That's how I'm getting it.
Is she going to transform into Rhys?
So she can look at the penis a little closer. He's like, I don't know. And then she's like, maybe, well, let's see what he's working with when he's aroused.
Oh, I'm just going to switch back to Tarquin real quick. Don't mind me. Bye, guys.
She's going to see which penis.
You're just rotating through all the High Lords to see which one she wants
just
to sleep with.
helicopter in each one of them, you know? Do you think she's also a size queen? Do you think...
Yes, I do think she is.
I think you're inserting yourself in this story. Like, I think that's the funniest part, where you're just like, you would go for the biggest penis. Well, obviously, that's the one who you would love the most. Now, all of a sudden, I've got to be worried. I'm like, oh no. What if Adri finds a huge monster dog and decides to trade me in?
What if Rhysand is huge?
No, I think he has to be written to have a huge penis. Can you imagine?
I don't think we're going to ever hear about his size.
I disagree.
I don't think we'll hear about it.
We heard about Tamlin's.
I don't remember Tamlin's size.
It was very generous.
Oh,
she was comparing him to the stable boy. The stable boy had adequate pain. Tamlin
I wonder if
was
when she...
very gifted. You don't remember this?
No.
No, she spoke quite highly of his penis.
I think I was more hung up on her comparing him to hung up.
Or hung up.
On her always just shooting down Isaac. Poor Isaac was just...
He was fodder.
He's just some stable boy trying to get laid by this poor woman.
To be fair,
he's constantly brought up about how horrible he is in bed.
Yeah, but he found love. And he was never brought up as horrible. He was brought up as just adequate. He was good enough.
Good enough.
But yeah, but he must have been awful because what she was doing with Tamlin, she's like, Tamlin's amazing. And I'm like, Tamlin, what he did was kind of a crime. I'm like, I don't think you can call that good sex either. But again, she's 19. She doesn't know any better.
But when she sleeps with Rhysand, I wonder if she's going to compare it to Isaac again. And I was just I'll feel so bad for Isaac.
She'll compare it to Tamlin. And I think that that's the correct approach. She'll be like, Isaac, we're done talking about. He's so far out of this.
I forgot all about him, actually.
Yeah, he's like that kid that like you did a foot race with in second grade. Like, I don't think Usain Bolt still thinks about those people at all. I think that's what it comes down to.
Okay.
Now it's like, oh, well, of the Olympians, a penis. And Rhysand is going to have a massive cock. But more importantly, he'll know how to use it.
Yeah.
You know, it'll be a Louisville slugger. But he's not going to use it in a way that damages her. He'll be cautious, and there'll be magic Fey lube, to help her out.
I see it as he's going to be a gentleman, make sure that she comes first. There's going to be a lot of foreplay.
He's going down on her the first time.
Yes.
He's not he's not using the penis for the first maybe 2 scenes, I'm guessing. First, it'll be like some hand stuff, which might be awkward if he's got the claws.
I need to write this theory down.
Iron clit. She's like, I transformed my clit into titanium. So he can't scratch it up with his claws. I'm just saying. And then she's like, and Tamlin with his massive penis and oddly shaped cloaca, because he's kind of a bird person. Doesn't matter. Little bird joke for the people in the back.
For Tamlin?
Boom, still got it. Anyway.
Will Forte reference.
Yeah. I don't know why I found that so much fun. Did I say Tamlin?
I think you did. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So she's going to be playing.
No, we're done. You're not allowed to talk about him that way. No, you're going to ruin. Talking about how he has a cloaca.
I said he has a nice peen, too. He's got them both. He's the opposite of androgynous, where you can't tell which one he is. You can tell that he's all of it. There's got to be a name for that, and I don't know what it would be.
What do you mean?
Like so androgyny, right?
Mm-hmm.
Be like, oh, you can't tell if they're male or female. But Rhys is so good that you can tell that he's very much both.
I am
Not male and female, like he's both man and bird. He's got huge penis, but he also has super lovely bird
Okay,
features.
it took me a while to get there.
You know what I mean?
No,
Oh,
we're done talking about him being a bird man.
if I have to listen to a 20-minute sex scene, you're going to get 5 minutes of me doing this. That's
How long were the
great show.
sex scenes with Tamlin?
The one was like 27 minutes.
No, you're thinking of Fourth Wing or Iron Flame.
Oh, yeah, okay. That makes sense. 20. No, the one was long. It was like chapter 5 or something. We were driving through a canyon, and I just remember thinking, I had time to plan where I would run this car off the road.
That's Iron Flame.
No, this was this book in the first few chapters
Okay.
of this
I don't
book.
remember it being that long.
It wasn't, maybe it was like
Must not have
10
been
minutes
long enough for me.
Yeah, well, maybe it was only like 10 minutes long, but it was long enough that I was like, this isn't a good sex scene. This is just an obnoxiously long one. Like people that are like, I'm going to bang for 2 hours, but they're just like thrusting at somebody for 2 hours. You know what I mean? There's nothing sensual about this. It's just fucking
Taking a step forward into the next 5 chapters.
2 steps back.
And nope, we're staying forward.
Like Reese's Pieces.
Do you have any theories of what's coming up next?
I think I just went over some of them.
Are they going to get laid?
Who's they?
Rhys and Feyre.
Together or individually?
Do you have a theory that it's separate?
Nah, but it was fun to think about. Yeah, they're definitely going to...
In
I don't
these
know
next
the
5 chapters.
Yeah, because I think it's going to be... We're going to visit the queen, right? They've agreed to meet now at the sister's house. And
Oh, we
she's
heard
gonna
back
feel-
from the queens?
No, we haven't, but we're going to in the next couple of chapters
Oh, okay.
because that's the point of the story we're at. We can't move forward without that.
Right.
So we get to hear back from the queens. They're like, cool, let's go back to my family's abode. So they're going to go back to the family's house. And Rhys and her, like, he'll be like, well, let me magic my little twin-size mattress in this place. And he goes to snap his fingers and she grabs his hand and stops it. She's like, no need. Instead, she snaps her fingers. She shapeshifts into one of those big titty fish.
Oh, I thought you were going to say shapeshifts into him. And he's like, now we're talking.
But this book is not well received enough for that to be the case. No, I think really what happens is they go back to the family house. Something similar to that happens. He's like, I'll get my mattress. She's like, don't worry about it, baby. Why don't you crawl in here with me? They fuck in her family's house, which is an odd fuck you to everybody who lives there. They're like, not only do we not like Faye, but the fact that they're trying to reproduce upstairs is a little fucking weird. But that's how I imagine they finally bang one out.
Well, let's go.
Yeah. Or they do in the Wind Palace with the windows open. I want to fuck in the tub.
Oh, yeah.
That
Her
tub.
bedroom?
Yeah, in the mountain.
Yeah,
house.
her
Yeah.
bedroom in the wind location.
Not the wind one, the mountain house.
Oh, yeah. He has 3 homes.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, again, he's a real estate mogul with an enormous piece. If she has sex with him in any of his parts that would require him to be shapeshifted into outside of his normal talking with people bits, then the next book gets a full episode of 1865 in between. the next
Okay.
book. Is that a deal?
Yes.
This is a pretty small thing. It's a 22-minute episode, and I'm
Right.
listening to 60 hours of book.
All right. We shook on it.
We did. I forgot. You can't see that. Guess what we shook? Dun, dun, dun.
I love you.
I love you.
You're my bestie.
You're my bestie. It was a great time. We had fun. Now get out and go live your life.
No, wait. No. Thank you all for listening. We appreciate and love you all. Please follow us here, TikTok or Instagram at Shadow Daddies Podcast.
And then go live your life.
Bye.
Bye. Get out. We're done. This was Daggers and Shadow Daddies. Now it's my time. Toodaloo. It was fun for us. I hope it was fun for you. But that's all we've got. Goodbye. Come back in a few days. We love you.